Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Tuesday live stream where we just talk about photography and what's new, what's been going on. And I do it mainly just to kind of hang out and make myself available to answer any questions you might have had on, any of the videos I make or just, photography in general. Sorry, oh my God, I'm so late today. It's not on purpose, but it wouldn't be a robtrek show without losing audio or coming in late or any other kind of technical problems. I don't know why after all this time you'd think I'd have this down, and I say this every week, but before I start the stream I always feel like, oh, this would be a piece of cake. I just turn the camera on, sit down, and just jibber jabber, right? But then when I sit down there's always like I'm looking right now at my screen here and I don't have any chat window. So I gotta do that real quick. And then I can see who's here and say hello and all that good stuff. This button. Oh, there we have it. So, it looks like Brian and Serge, Casper, good to see you. Marcia. Awesome. Thank you, Marcia, for the super chat the other day. I had a stream Sunday with Robin Wong, and had a lot of nice super chats and stuff. I really appreciate all that. I can't remember everybody who contributed that day, but I really appreciate that. And Robin appreciates all of the coffees and everything you bought him. Oh my goodness. Good morning, Walter. Elaine. How are you, Elaine? I finished the OA, by the way. And let's see, Kirk is here, Piotr, awesome. Jeff Painter, Nature with Music, John Yutze, John Softly, how are you? I know it's still a little bit late over there, right? What time is it right now where you are? Because I set up this time just so you could make it, to be honest. And everyone else in that time zone. And of course, it easily fits into the UK time zone, but the USA, not so much unless you're on the East Coast and don't have a job or work from home like Walter. 8 minutes late is the new normal. And then Piotr says, does anybody know if Rob has ever made a video on OBS setup and perhaps some tips on how could easily? I do have a video on live streaming, which I do some basic setup in OBS. So just search live stream on my channel and you'll find it. Or better yet, I could just show you, right? Let me pull this window. Videos, live stream. Yeah, it's episode, let me copy the link for you. Oh, I didn't give it an episode number. Oh, all right, so I definitely have to give you the link. So there you go. That's my live stream video. And then there's lots of good OBS tutorials out there. I like the Nick Nimmons OBS tutorial. I'll type his name down here. Nick Nimmons, I think that's how you spell it. That's the one that I watched to help me set up my live stream kind of the way it looks now, with the kind of the footer here and the chat window over here on the side. But if you just need a basic setup, that's kind of what my live stream video does. Sure, Piotr, no problem. But that's the video. Like I said, Nick Nimmons is the one I watched to kind of help me set this up. I think it was him. I'm pretty sure. But like I said, there's lots of them. But just watch mine first if you really are kind of clueless about where to start, and then I'll kind of walk you through it in that video, setting up the camera and everything. Oh, Brian, how are you? Oh, thank you. Sunday stream was great. Yeah. Yeah, Robin is always pretty awesome, right? Robin Wong, he's another creator here on YouTube. And he makes terrific videos. you know, across the board. But when you actually talk to him live in person, or see him live in person, you really appreciate kind of the kind of the wealth of experience and knowledge he has just on the tip of his tongue. Like, it just comes out. You ask him anything and then he can talk for hours about it. So that's, you know, and that doesn't, you don't always know when you're watching a video if they really know that or if it's all scripted, you know. And like my videos, oh my God, so much, you know. Well, anyway, his channel is really so much better than mine in many ways, right? You know, it doesn't replace a lot of the things that I do, of course, you know, with the, you know, I deep dive into the menus and things. But once you kind of get over that hump, you know, I think Robin, Peter Forsgard, Jimmy Chang, all those channels, you know, really kind of take you to the next level where I kind of just leave you hanging sometimes, right? With mine, like, I show you how to set up the menu and then I don't actually go out and take any pictures, right? I don't know. I do photo walks and things, but that's different, right? So they kind of skip through a lot of the very basic things. Their videos would be difficult if you've never touched a camera before, right? Or have no idea what cameras are about, but you want to get into photography and you want a real camera and you buy, say, an EM1 or an EM10 or whatever. Their videos might be a little hard for that kind of person that's just buying a camera for the first time, because they do use a lot of terminology in photography, and they make and they just go right into the camera and start changing settings without really showing you where to start. And that's kind of the gap that I feel, I think, Bill. And I'm happy to do that, because that's about my level of expertise. Because when it goes out to actually taking pictures and things, you know, I struggle just like everyone else. You know, if you saw my video I put out yesterday where I talk about, you know, I give some composition tips, you can see the initial images were just horrible, you know, and I had to crop in and process and to make them look halfway decent. But I'm getting there. You know, I do have a thought process when I go out and take pictures, so that I try to get better every time. Like the one picture of the tree grove where I shot too wide, I'll know next time when I go back, I need to zoom in a little bit and tighten the scene whenever I run into that situation. Because I've never really been to a tree grove where trees are all lined up perfectly, you know, down, you know, and beautiful. I think I want to go back there, but I think all the leaves are gone by now. So I'll just have a bunch of, you know, bare trees to take pictures of, which can be okay too if you got fog, right? Yes, thank you, Nature. It was a great live chat with Robin. And then Peter says, by the way, interesting how the chat is well in advance of the rest audio stream, some 4 seconds or so. Yeah, it's about 10 to 15 seconds buffering for me. I have 2 chat windows here. I got the one that's here, right? That is live in the video. And then next to that is the actual stream chat that I don't see. But I do have a stream window here. This is the one that I look at. So I'm looking at it right now. So it kind of looks like I'm looking at the chat window that's actually in the live view, but I'm actually looking at this one. And they're pretty much in sync. What's on the screen down here versus what's I'm looking at over here. But I have to look at this one because the screen is bigger and I can read it, you know. And it looks a little more natural when I look this way, right? Versus looking down. It's all part of the setup, you know. When I set up the stream, I've got it streamlined to a point that, yeah, once I'm ready, I can push a button and get started, and I can maneuver between the different screens and everything. But all of that took, you know, if you watch my very earliest streams, my God, what a train wreck. And even now, you know, I still run into issues, but It's strange that Robin has 60,000 views on mostly all videos, but only has 20,000 subs. Strange balance. Well, you know, I think, yeah, that's that is a really good ratio, right? Subs to views, which is a testament to, you know, his personality, right? And the loyalty of his customer base. Because smaller channels like ours, right? Robin, me, Peter, the ratio of views to subs is pretty high. Well, mine not so much, but all of theirs, right? And that's really a testament to the viewer loyalty that they have and the breadth of knowledge and trust that they've developed with their community. So when a video comes up of theirs, people will watch it. There's subscribers will watch it. There's silent subscribers, meaning people that aren't actually subscribed to the channel but always watch their videos because it comes up in their feed. You know, the silent subscribers, and you know, so that's why they get so many views. You know, and other channels, they have like a million subscribers or hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they don't get 60,000 views on a video. They get like 3,000, 5,000, maybe 10 on average, right? So they have a much they just don't have quite the trust or loyalty of their subscriber base. You know, they get that initial subscriber, that new subscriber, they're good at that, hence their, you know, large subscriber base. But then when their videos come up, people aren't that interested, and then eventually just unsubscribe. But they keep getting new subscribers, right? And my channel, I feel like I've kind of plateaued at this like low 20,000 range all year, you know? So I haven't really picked up any new subscribers, but that's because I've transitioned a lot from making beginning tutorial videos to a lot of live streaming, and you know, partially because of the lockdowns and everything that's been going on, partially because I've been getting more day jobs, like real, like paid jobs, right? Not like this. And then, so I don't have quite the time I used to have to make the videos or the opportunity. So my new subscribers have dropped. You know, I rarely, you know, I have days where I have negative subscribers. You know, my subscriber numbers drop, which, because I used to consistently get over 1,000 new subscribers every month. And lately, if I get 200 or 300 new subscribers in a month, I'm happy. You know, it's like, okay, you know, I'm sorry about that. I wish I could, I don't know. I don't know what to do about that, except maybe just continue to do what I'm doing, make videos, do what I enjoy, and hopefully you guys like it too, you know. Because the cameras that I have now, like, I think I've pretty much covered the EM10s. The M10 Mark II anyway. The Mark IIIs and Mark IVs are close enough. And the M5 Mark II is also pretty much in that same level of you know, the menus and everything are similar enough that I don't really need to make separate videos for individual cameras at those levels for beginners. Now the EM1s, the M1 Mark II, Mark III, these are very advanced cameras, right? And typically the user that buys that is already pretty good photographer, very familiar, and can navigate around the camera easily enough without my help. So I haven't focused on the EM1 Mark II or Mark III a lot because my target audience, which are absolute beginners generally, you know, they don't have that camera. Now, if I make a video about that camera and it explodes, you know, I guess I'm wrong, but I really haven't done that. I've done a couple of videos on the menu system on the EM5 Mark III. I've done 1 or 2 videos maybe, I think, on the EM1s, and they don't explode or do well like my beginner series on the EM10. And I think that's mainly because people buying those cameras, you know, they're upgrading from another Olympus, or they're already pretty competent photographer, and my channel's not really for them. Yeah, Ed's right, and thank you too, Ed. I think you bought me a coffee or something recently. I appreciate that. Yeah, but you're right. Ed thinks the product line is matured, so there's not many changes from model to model. And that's absolutely true, because even my 10-year-old E500, there's a lot of similarities from that model, you know, which is 10 or 15, it's 15 years old. You know, all we've done is added on to that. Oh, Peter's here. Hi, Peter. Bilad, maybe it's because the camera brand you are using. If you would use Canon or Nikon, you would get more subs. Oh, certainly. Yeah, certainly if I was into one of the bigger camera makers, Canon by far outsells and has a lot bigger user base than the Olympus brand. Nikon, about half what Canon is, but still a lot more than Olympus and Panasonic. And then the rest of us, Olympus, Panasonic, Fujifilm, you know, we're kind of all, give or take, in terms of user base, right in there. But I feel like the Olympus users, Panasonic and Fujifilm, these are the people that really want to learn photography, right? They really want to, you know, they really want to take a good picture in the sense that they really enjoy it. You know, they have a little bit more passion, I think, in the photography. Canon and Nikon, they're kind of big box type, big box store type cameras. You know, the Canon T6, the Nikon 3500, 5300. You know, all of these things you see on Costco, Walmart, all the big box stores, right? They come in as kits for 500 bucks. That's their bread and butter, I believe, for Canon and Nikon. You know, in terms of volume, and then people upgrading later to the higher end systems because they're already locked into the system, right? Or they're already familiar with the system and they love, you know, and they do a good job at marketing. And there certainly is a lot more users, and I'm not saying they're not as enthusiastic or passionate about photography as, say, Olympus and Panasonic or Fujifilm type buyers, but I feel like those buyers are more like they want a real camera because they want to do better than what they can do with their cell phone. So they buy a Canon T6 or a Nikon 5300, whatever is the latest models now. Maybe a 55 is out now, but they buy these off the shelf for $500-600 bucks. I guess the Z50 is kind of the next thing, but and they use it a few times and then it just collects dust, you know, because I would say the bulk of people buying those cameras, they never really use them or take them as far as they need to go, as far as they can go with them. And that could be partially, I think, because of there's not a lot of people like me doing entry-level beginner tutorials for those cameras. But I think it's mostly because, you know, the cameras are cheap off the shelf at the big box stores. They're front and center. They buy them as a gift or for themselves. And the people that get them are like, you know, I'm just gonna use my cell phone. I get better pictures, you know, with my cell phone than I can, because they don't know how to use the camera. And they're not interested in learning how to use the camera. Whereas I think when an Olympus or Panasonic or Fujifilm person buys a camera, you know, they want to learn how to use it. You know, where are all the controls? What's in the menu system? You know, how do I do this? And wow, that's really neat. What can I do here? Just my gut feeling. I don't know. I could be way off. I'm not a marketing expert. I don't work for any of these camera companies that does this kind of research. But ultimately, the companies are all corporations, and you know, they have to make money. So the low-end camera market, the big box stores and things, push Canon and Sony, to buyers that are maybe not buying it very seriously. You know, they think they're serious, but they're really not. Versus most people that are buying Olympus, Panasonic, Fuji, I feel like they are pretty serious about their cameras, you know, and they really want to learn how to use it. But just my thoughts. Oh my goodness, thank you, Wudang. I appreciate that. Let me back up here to some questions. Elaine, you just got your EM10 Mark II. Yeah, that camera still sells. I still recommend it over the Mark III and the Mark IV. Well, maybe not the Mark IV. Mark IV has a little bit of an edge in some ways, and the EM10 Mark II still has an edge in others. That's why I've never bought the Mark III, or Mark IV. And Vlad says maybe it's because the camera. Oh, that's the question I just answered. Took me 7 minutes to answer. And then Wudang says, I believe stuff that nobody has been done yet is kind of interesting. It has to be very specialized, lens comparisons and so on. But that takes a lot of time. Yes. And then John Dyer says, quick question, past or present, what is your favorite camera ever? Pen F. Olympus Pen F. This one right here. It's always by my side. I mean, cosmetically is the reason I bought it. I just thought it was a beautiful camera. But then this creative dial and all of the JPEG centric features, where you know, and all the art filters, and you know, it's just a very fun camera to use because you can play with a lot of settings. The color wheels, I don't know. This is what really got me into deep diving into all of the menu settings that we have for Olympus. Because the EM10 Mark II was my very first Olympus camera. But this Pen F is the one that really got me into the menus and really enjoying the camera a lot. And then it's backward compatible with a lot of the other Olympus cameras. You know, there's a lot of overlap. But that's my favorite camera, I'd say, of all time. As far as mirrorless goes, DSLR cameras, I'd say I really liked my D7100, Nikon D7100. That was an awesome camera. I dropped and broke mine, of course, but I sold it for parts though back in the day for $300 and some. A broken D7100. And then film cameras, man, I'd say my OM2S is my favorite. I mean, there's a lot of, you have to kind of think, I like to think of it in terms of format, different format cameras. They all offer a different experience and they're all very different. But ultimately, if I could only have one camera, it would probably be the Pen F for my personal use. For professional use, it has to be the EM1 Mark III. That's what I use professionally for, you know, the features that it has. I could get away with using the Pen F, but ergonomically, it's not suited for professional work that I do. But it certainly is capable as the EM1 Mark III for the work that I do anyway. And then Wudang says, I personally would be interested in a lens shootout versus your vintage lenses and comparable with new lenses. I would like to do that. I whipped out my, you know, because I got this S5 and I got the adapter so I can put my vintage Nikon full frame glass on a full frame camera again. And I'm finding a lot of my lenses, like this is one of my favorite lenses ever, the Nikon 105 f2.5, because it's relatively small. I mean, it's heavy because it's like made of steel, but I'm finding the lenses are a little bit soft because, not because of the optics, but because of the there's haze in it now. I don't know how this how this got all hazy. So I only have a few really clean, super clean vintage lenses that I can try. But you know, I bought a lot of these on eBay as, you know, and got, you know, and I was the lowest bidder, obviously, right? So I got the lowest quality version, I guess, because you can buy these in super mint condition and pay twice as much. But I'm not using these professionally, and I'm not that worried about it. I just hit the dehaze slider a little bit, and this looks great. But so it's almost not fair to compare the vintage lenses that I have against more modern lenses because of the condition they're in. I was trying to find my 135. That's a really, I think that one is very clean, and my Minoltas are very clean. I have a 50mm Rocar. I got 50mm OM lenses that are very clean. But lenses like this, which are awesome, that I would recommend you get this as a vintage lens. If I did a lens comparison on it, people would be like, well, why would I buy that? It's all soft and hazy. Well, it's not the lens's fault. It's my fault because I didn't take care of it. And I didn't buy one that was minty to begin with. I bought one that was in what they called very good or good condition. And they did disclose there's a tiny bit of haze in it and all that. And I said, that's fine. Let me just buy it. It's cheap, right? I paid less than, I think I paid like $80 for this, and I don't know what they're going for now. But Nature with Music says, robtrek, I have the M1 Mark II, always have a problem trying to find my way around the menu system, but super camera, yeah, it's a great camera. And Roberto says, people like the journey, like photo walks with education sprinkled in. Yeah, that's what I tried to do on the last video I put up yesterday. I didn't get much B-roll footage of me walking around, because you know how I feel about that, you know. I mean, I know it makes for better video cinematically speaking, right? When you see, and James Pops has kind of broke the fourth wall the other day in a recent video, where he opens up the video walking through a front gate, and he says, wouldn't be a video if I didn't come into the scene walking through a front gate, you know. He cracks me up, that guy. But he doesn't do it quite as much as, say, Thomas Heaton. Thomas Heaton goes hardcore into the B-roll of him walking everywhere, hiking the mountain twice, basically, because he has to go up the mountain, then come back down, get his camera, then go back up. You know, but he has all this beautiful footage of him hiking, and you see him, what he had to go through to go and take that picture. And I think that's wonderful, you know. But I ain't doing that. I ain't hiking a mountain twice for B-roll. So this last video I made, I just did a lot of voiceover, you know, on my footage, which doesn't make for as interesting content, but ultimately I think the lessons I wanted to teach there, you know, are there, but it's a little dry, right? Without that beautiful B-roll of the surroundings and the footage and all of that. I got to work on that. I got to figure out a way that I can do B-roll without having to walk twice, you know, or drive a car around a block twice, you know, things like that. Because I'm a one-man operation, right? Like Thomas Heaton, James Popses, Robin, Peter, all of us are just basically one-man. Of course, Peter's video recently, it looks like he has a cameraman now. He made a comment about his cameraman almost tripped or something. And then Vlad says, Rob is like real human cameraman. You know, you can hear him. He can learn you something about the camera, and you don't need to read. I try to make it simple. And Pierre says, you are the reason why I bought the Micro Four Thirds camera, so thank you. I recently upgraded my EM10 Mark II to an EM1 Mark II. Cheers. Awesome camera, EM1 Mark II. Especially for the price now, $899 brand new, used for like $600-700. It's crazy. And Alf Beam says, "Hi Rob, this is Alf from Amsterdam. Can you tell me if for the Micro Four, or can you tell me if for the 4/3 the pro lenses are so much better than the non-pros? If so, already addressed this. Could you tell me where?" Yes. I have addressed this. Yeah, the pros are better. Just, is it worth spending the money for that little bit better image quality, right? If you're a professional, I think you should get the professional lenses for your work. I use, what do I use? Actually, I use professional lenses time to time, but I'm fine sometimes with just kit lenses for even my pro work. But I will give you a link here. I think, where are my playlists? I'll just give you a playlist and you can look at the videos in that. Did I make a playlist for lenses? Yeah, here it is. So this is for Alf. This is my playlist on lenses, and in that playlist there's videos where I compare kit lenses versus pro lenses versus primes at the various popular focal lengths. So if you're interested in a particular pro lens, the only pro lens I have is the 12-40 Pro, but certainly the zooms, the 40-150, the 300mm f4 Pros, those are very, very sharp and excellent, but they're expensive, like $1,500 for a 40-150, $1,500. $2,300 for a 300mm f. Wow, that those are expensive. And then the lower end pro lenses, like the 12-45 Pro, is excellent, but is it really worth double or 3 times the price of the kit lens? It's a tough call. I would say excuse me, I would say use your kit lenses until you're comfortable with your photography and your skill set. Once you kind of build up your photography skill set, then you'll appreciate more what the pro lenses can do. Because just, if somebody that has very little experience just buys all pro lenses and pro bodies and everything, they're not going to appreciate what it can do, and they're not going to get good images from it because their photography skill set is still, beginner level. And so I would say if you're a beginner level photographer, just stick with your kit lenses until you really build up your skill set. And then when you start looking at pro glass, you'll appreciate more which one and make better decisions about which ones to buy and which one is worth it to buy. Because for some people, $2,500 300mm f4 Pro is worth every penny. And I would argue the same, that it is worth every single penny. But I wouldn't recommend it to anybody that's just starting out, because that's, if you never develop your skill set, or you lose interest in photography later, oh my God, you just spent $2,500, right? And I don't own that lens, mainly because of the cost, but it's not a lens I would use very much personally. Good morning, Thomas Zazauskas. Good to see you. And Roberto says, a lot get into as a hobby, then realize not as easy pushing a button. Yes. And Vlad says, I have the EM10 Mark II. It's a good camera, enough for me even. Stock pancake lens. Yes. And you wanted the Pen F, but it was over your budget. You're not missing much, though. You're not missing much. I mean, the Pen F is kind of a luxury item toy. It's a great second camera. I never tell people to buy it as an upgrade. The Pen F is certainly, like, if it's your first camera, fine. If it's your second camera, fine. But as an upgrade, never buy the Pen F as an upgrade. It's not. And Wudang says, Rob is a Pen F guy. I personally think it's the best looking camera. It is nice. It's a love it or hate it. It's very subjective, right? But yeah, I personally, I really like it. Oh, you meant about 3 years ago. Okay, Vlad, okay. And Wudang says, who cares? Go manual focus on the Pen F. Yes. Yeah, I shoot my favorite lens on that camera. Where is it? Is this one. It's a manual focus. And I have a video on this lens. It's a 35mm CCTV lens. It's about $35 now. It used to be like $25. But man, I love this lens on the Pen F. It's a 35mm f1.6 for $35. And has really amazing bokeh, right? Very soft, buttery, soap bubble-like, swirly. I mean, it has like all kinds of different qualities in the bokeh that just make your pictures really interesting. Yes, Ed, I agree. Too bad the Pen F's not been updated. I wish it would be, but we may never see one. And Elaine had a Nikon D70. I still got my D80 downstairs. Goes to show I never sell anything. It's hard. I really got to sell stuff before the Nikon F mount is just totally worthless. I got some lenses that are worth a few bucks that I need to get rid of. And Wudang says, I'm sure it would help some here to use analog camera for a day or two to get a feeling back of how to shoot with distance scale. Wow. That may be a step too far. Now, I think if you're pretty competent with a digital camera and you're doing a good job with that, I definitely recommend shooting with film once in a while if you've never done it before. Or if you haven't done it in a long time, wouldn't hurt to shoot some film time to time. But I think as a beginner, yeah, work with a digital camera until you get good with that. Then, yeah, think about shooting film time to time. Just mostly to kind of reset your brain a little bit, because when you're shooting film, you definitely slow down and you're very invested in every single picture, you know, both in time and money, right? Because it's not cheap to use film anymore. And in terms of time, yeah, you take longer to take the shot because you're a little bit more selective because of the cost, but also the time where you have to wait to get it developed. You know, whether you do it yourself or you send it out and it comes back, you know, there's that window of time where you don't see the picture, right, that you took for days, or, you know, for days. And that weighs in on every picture you take when you're about to take it, right? So I think, you know, film definitely, and then a lot of times all manual controls with just a light meter, right? You just got to balance that depending on what digital or what film camera you use. Some of them are fully automatic, but an older film camera that's full manual with a simple light meter, definitely I recommend, if you're very competent and very good with your digital camera already, go back and shoot some film sometimes. Not all the time, unless you really like it, you know, but and that's what I do. Time to time I'll shoot some film. It's been a couple of weeks since I shot film. I need to, maybe this weekend I'll shoot some film. And then Dion says, hi Rob, I want to ask you something. What should I choose between a 12 to 32 Panikit lens or a Panasonic 14 2.5 on my EM1 Mark II? I will use it for the next month holidays on outdoor in the mountain. I would get the 12 to 32. It's a little more versatile, because the Panasonic kit lens, the 12 to 32 wide open at 12mm is f3.5, and the 14mm is f2.5. So it's about a one-stop difference, which in practice can be significant in low light, but in outdoors, like you're talking about outdoors in the mountains, it's not going to make any difference. If you're talking about indoor, it could make a difference, but the trick to indoor shooting is use a flash. If you're indoors, use a flash and bounce it off the ceiling, and you don't have to worry about the slower aperture on the 12 to 32. So definitely, and being at 12 millimeters wide can make a big difference in outdoor landscapes. From 14 to 12, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. You know, so I would definitely get the 12 to 32 over the 14. The only reason I would buy the 14 millimeter f2.5 is, you know, like for street photography, and you don't want to, you know, you're really into just using a single focal length. You know, the 14, the primes, they're generally primes, you know, you buy for a very specific purpose, and I think it's a great street photo type lens. But for what you're talking about, going hiking in the mountains or then taking pictures indoors, 12 to 32 is a better choice, but make sure you get a flash with it for the indoor side. And let's see, Alf says, oh, I'm missing you. I kind of skip a lot of the chatter between when you guys talk between each other. So just so I can try to keep up with direct questions that I get. I feel bad. Maybe I missed a question from Alf. And then Wudang says, I see. Well, if you get a feeling for photography, you don't need to think much. Yes. It's a clear day, ISO 200 f4 with a distance 3 meters of subject. Shutter speed 1/20th. Yeah, you get a feel for it. Definitely. You definitely get a feel for it. And film, if you're talking about film has a little bit of latitude too, right? Because you're going to get grain whether you take it at the perfect ISO or you take it or you push and pull the film a little bit. You're going to get a little more grain, but you're getting grain anyway. So it just has more latitude by default. And Thomas Sizowska says, on the EM10 Mark II, when you're chimping and you tap on a photo, a taskbar appears at the bottom. What does the checkbox on the left do? And what does the share icon to its right do? Okay, the share icon is actually, I think, a lock. Let me see if I can. Which button do I push here? Multi-purpose, I think. This button? Nope. Dang it. This button. Now, there we go. This is the M5 Mark II, but it'd be the same. Do I have any pictures here? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was doing some test shots here. So the question is, when you're chimping and tap a photo, the taskbar appears at the bottom. So let me see. And if I tap, oh, I gotta disconnect it. This is not gonna work. When it's hooked up to the HDMI, I don't get the same things coming. I push play, I tap it. All right, so the little share button is actually, this is hard to explain, but it's just marking the photo for sharing, right? And I think it has something to do with the app on your phone, but I've never used it. And then, but it basically marks the photo for sharing, so that when you access the camera through the app, only the pictures that are marked for sharing will show up, or you can tell it to only look for pictures that you marked for sharing. I think that's what that's for. And then you ask, what does the checkbox on the left do? That's the same thing, I believe. Dang it. That's a really good question. I've never ever used any of that stuff. There's a share button I'm familiar with, the lock button I'm familiar with, of course the zoom, right? But then this checkbox. That's a dang good question. I really don't know. Man, I thought I knew it all. I'm just kidding. I really don't know, Thomas. I'll look into it though. Man, that's embarrassing. I've never used that, but those, I know the share button is something to do with the phone app. The on button though, that's a good question. That might have to do with printing. I don't know. Wow, you stumped me. I will, I mean, I felt pretty confident when I turned the camera on. And then when I looked at it, I was like, man, I've never really looked at those before. So I will look into that. What I might do, I don't know if you go to my forum or not. Maybe that's the best place to put an answer. I'd like to put a short video answer there. Maybe I'll do that because I can put, I don't want to post like a 30-second or 1-minute video on YouTube to answer a question, but I can do that in my forum. And you'll find the link. So that might, let me give that some thought on how that works. About being able to answer questions, because a lot of times it's hard to write down how to explain to do something on a camera, and it's a lot easier just to show you, right? So a little video would do that. So let me give that some thought. Man, that's a good question. Instead of looking, it's nice to get experience and go with it, like back in the film days. That's true. That's true, Dang. Because honestly, yeah, with a digital camera, you're always, I mean, you don't have to. You can close the screen or, turn the screen off and just use the EVF on a digital camera. But that's hard to do for me personally. I gotta look. But with a film camera, you don't have any choice. So you have to just, I mean, your brain is always on composition and what you're gonna get a picture of that's interesting. But at the same time, you are spending more time enjoying the environment than you are looking at it on the back of your camera, right? And Manish says, hi Rob, thanks for your Sunday stream. It was really good. Oh, thanks Manish. Appreciate you coming in and joining us. And Elaine says she cut her teeth on the K1000 and the Canon AE1. Both really nice cameras. I've thought about getting both of those. I don't have either one. But I just got so many film cameras. I don't even want to, I got too many cameras. And cumulatively, they're worth a few bucks, but individually, I'm like, do I really want to sell this for 20 bucks or $30? I'd just rather keep it, Manish says, do you have any holy trinity of lenses? Not really. I mean, the typical, when people talk about a trinity, without making it personal, generally they're talking about the 3 zoom lenses, right? 7-14, 24-70, and a 70-200 in 35 millimeter terms. I'm sorry, the 16-20. See, I get the 35 and micro four thirds mixed up. But those, there's 3 common zoom lenses that people buy with their full frame cameras to cover a wide range of subjects. Jimmy did a video on his trinity of lenses, which I'm sure you've seen by now, which was more personal, right? I think his was like the 17, the 25, the 45 Pros. I can't remember, but I think those were the 3. Then the 40-150. I mean, for me personally, you know, if I had to pick 3 lenses in my entire collection that I'd have to live with forever, I mean, the 17 comes to mind right away. Then I'd probably say my 40 to 150. Actually, I'd probably say the 14 to 150 kit lens that I have. So the 17 prime, the 14 to 150 kit lens, and my 45 millimeter f1.8. So the 17 f1.8, the 45 f1.8, and then my 14 to 150 kit lens. If those are the only 3 lenses I could have forever, it would be those 3. That would be my Trinity. So why did the thing jump all the way up? I lost my place on this chat window here. Oh, okay, I'm back. And Wudang says, I used the original new Voigtlander Bessa 66 for practicing. Oh, wow. Nice little camera. Yeah, that's the one that, doesn't it fold out too, right? In the front, the lens extends out. Is that right, Wudang, or am I thinking of the other Voigtlander? And then Ed says, I have 2 lenses coming, the 45 and the 17. I rarely use primes, but these lenses are nice just in case. Yes. That's funny, because just a few minutes ago, I just said those would be 2 of the 3 Trinity of my Trinity lenses, right? Those are excellent lenses. And Ed says, I love the 12 to 45. Yes. It's not a lens I have, but it's tempting. And Nature says, having an issue with my Rotolight Neo 2, following your advice on flashlighting, I've ordered a Godox X1TO transmitter, which I understand should hopefully connect wirelessly to the light. I don't know if the Rotolights connect to a Godox trigger. I don't think it would. But I don't know anything about that Rotolight, to be honest. If it's made by Godox and they say it's compatible with the Godox X trigger system, the X series triggers, then you're good. But otherwise, it's probably not going to work. When I compare pictures to my Voigtlander Bessa and the Sony a7 III, the difference in the lens and film, the Bessa looks way more natural. The lens is softer but organic, and medium film is nice. Yeah, medium film is definitely beautiful. And the Wudang says, the Pen F was a nice monochrome shooter. Now I prefer Sony's new rich monochrome. Amazing quality. Yeah, I think you showed me one of those, right? You sent one into one of my photo editing live streams that was taken using that mode, right? That was pretty impressive. I did like that a lot myself. I think I can emulate that on the Pen F. I don't have that picture anymore. Maybe you can send another one to me. Just a couple of different shots using that rich monochrome, and then I'll see if I can duplicate on the Pen F. Because it looks like it was just crushing the shadows a lot, but then it was doing something with the clarity that I don't know if I'm going to be able to duplicate. Oh, Walter, well, congrats. You got the new Z70-200 2.8S. Wow. That's some big bucks, man. I wish I had it like Walter did, man. He does all right. But he's a local professional photographer here. And he also has a channel that he does Capture One tutorials and things, tips and tricks and things. So if you look up his YouTube channel with his username there, Walter Rowe Photography, and you're thinking about Capture One or you have Capture One, you should definitely check his channel out. Music Sound Gear says, I saw a full frame Canon camera with large lens on it. It looked like a prop from the old show Land of the Giants. The thing looked weird compared to the M1 Mark II. Yeah, full frame cameras, you know, if you're using full frame cameras, it looks normal, but you know, for us Olympus users, right? Full frame cameras just seem like giant dinosaurs. And Wudang says, it would be so nice if you do film tutorials for people who want to get back into film, which film to use. I'm the last person, man, to do tutorials on film. Oh my God. I'm just getting back into it myself. It's been a long time, but there's so many good film channels out there. I like this one. I think it's called Grainy Days. The guy is kind of hilarious. He's kind of like the Camera Conspiracies guy, but he does film cameras. So check his channel out. I think it's called Grainy Days. But yeah, he's got a very dry sense of humor, but it cracks me up. Every time you trip the shutter button on a film camera, you just spend about 75 cents, including the cost of film and processing. Yeah, it's overall about $15 to $20 for a 36 roll. Once you buy the film and develop it, not counting all the time driving to and from or mailing back and forth the film to get developed. Unless you do it yourself, then you can save some money on the developing side. Because you can develop like 2 to 4 rolls at a time without spending any more on chemicals, right? But if you do a lot of film processing, it would behoove you to learn how to do it yourself. You'll save a lot of money. But if you do it just time to time like I do, I just spend the 15 or 20 bucks, you know. I don't like it, but oh, Barana, how are you? Good to see you. And Kirk says, speaking of film, just found several rolls of Provia 100 tucked back under my drawer from 2009. Wow. Shoot one roll. It's going to be grainy and the colors are going to be off. But shoot one roll and see how it comes out. If it comes out terrible, just chuck it. But that's what I would do, because I shot some black and white film that was really old, and it was a little bit grainier than it was supposed to be, compared to like when I shot brand new roll of film. It was nice and crisp, you know. Not digital crisp, but you know, crisp for film. And if nothing else, you'll get a lomography type look to all your images if you're using really old film like that. I mean, it's not too bad. 2009 is not terrible. I was wondering between the 45 and the 75 f1.8. Or Humphrey says, hi Rob, I'm new to photography and I have the Olympus EM10 Mark II. I found my love in event photography, stand-up and concert, and I'm currently using the 25. What lens should I get? I'll get the 75 f1.8, definitely. I mean, stand-up, what is it, kind of stand-up and concerts? I mean, it depends, honestly, it depends how close you can get. If you're like right front stage, the 45 is better. If you're back a little bit, like with concerts where you might be set back and the band is set back on the stage, the 75 would be better, right? But stand-up comedy, usually they're standing right on the edge of the stage talking to the audience, you know. They like to do that. A lot of comedians like to do that interaction with the audience, and they get right up. Hi, what's your name? You know, what's your name? What do you do? Really, is that your girlfriend? Oh, it's your wife? But you know what I mean? They get up close, but bands, they're usually set back a little bit because they have all kinds of gear, the drummer and the speakers and the amplifiers and all of that, so they have to set back, you know, for the wiring so they can plug all their crap in. A 75 would be better in that case, but I'd probably start with, if you had to pick one, probably the 45 is a little more versatile because you can always crop in later. But The 75 is really, it's sharper lens wide open than the 45 is. But I'd probably say get the 45 and then crop in when you need to. That would be my advice. Wow, 7:50. Wow, I'm almost 20 minutes behind on the chat. Let me get here quick. Medium format is crazy expensive too. $40 for shooting and developing a roll. Wow. No, I don't spend that much. I think I paid $10 or $12 for a roll of 120 film. I don't know about 6x6 film. It's probably a lot more expensive. Come to think of it, you're right. But I can't imagine $40. I've never tried to develop that larger film. I got the phone number of this lady that wanted to shoot 5x6 or 5x5 film. We were gonna go out together. That was like a year ago. I'm so bad at calling people back. Terrible. That's why I have no girlfriend. They'll say call me and I never do. Let's see. And then when I do call them, they chew me out for not calling them sooner. So why would I call them? Because I know I'm going to get my butt chewed. Well, anyway, that's the way it is. In indoor crowd, the flash can be annoying. However, I have set a big flash to bounce off the ceiling, and the flash on the EM10 used to trigger the big flash setting. Yes, I've done that too, Chuck. I use a radio trigger now. It's a little more reliable, but depending on what brand of flash the bigger flash is, because the optical triggers on the Godoxes are terrible. The ones that I have, anyway. I don't have the 685 or the new V1 Godoxes. They might have good optical triggers, but the TT350 and my 8200, the optical triggers suck. So I have to use a radio trigger. But my Nikon optical trigger is freaking awesome. Now Roberto has videos on that checkbox thing. I forget who was asking, but Thomas, yeah, Thomas Zazauskas was asking about the checkbox. Yeah, Roberto, excuse me, Roberto Di Donato has a Olympus channel too, doing tutorials and stuff too. So you can look him up again by his username there. But he has a checkbox as the batch select tool. That makes sense. Is that, I guess that's for batch printing, right? Like if you want to print certain pictures, you checkbox those. But who uses print from camera? You know? I don't know. I gotta look into it. And Wudang says, yes, a 6x6 roll. Yep. Wow. I haven't looked into really expensive, like high-end. I don't have a camera, first of all. I got my Fuji 6x9, which is uses 120 film, and it's pretty close to, actually it's not even close to 6x6 film. That's got to be expensive, because you're talking, I think you're talking 6" by 6", right? Almost like plate film. Because 5x5 is like this, and 6, it's, I don't know. I'm not hardcore into film, but I did look into it sometimes. Observation, observation, observer, Observer, okay, got it. Observer Station. Observer Station says, ask me, Rob, have you done a video about using the Olympus Share app? I have not. I've never got the hang of it myself. Would be a useful tutorial. I never use that app. It's never been reliable for me. I did try it about a month ago and it was working great. So maybe the latest updates on that thing, and it was working great with my EM1 Mark III. But maybe I think Peter Forsgaard has a video on it, on the apps, so you can check that out for now. But for me, I've just never used it because it's always been awkward. I hate using the little touch screens, and I'm more of a physical kind of guy. But people have asked me to do videos on it before, but I just can't bring myself to sit down and learn how to use that thing. I mean, I know how to download pictures and share them, but that's about it. Using it to actually take pictures or record video, there's too many limitations. It's better to just set up the settings on the camera and take pictures rather than trying to use the app. I guess there's some special use cases where an app would be handy, but I'm sorry. Observer Station, I'm sorry. I don't expect a video for that soon. I'm not saying I'm never going to do it, but definitely low on my priority list. And oh, and then Chuck is confirmed that, right? The checkbox selects the pictures you want to print to the printer. Can't remember the name for that on the printer function. Yeah, it's called you're right, I can't remember either. It's in the shooting menu too, I think. Let me look real quick. No, it's not. It's not even in the menu. I think here it is. It's in the playback menu. And then you have print order. Yeah, it's in the playback menu. But I forget what they call it. You're right. There is like an acronym for printing to a printer, but nobody uses that anymore. Because when you buy a printer, it'll say it's compatible with devices that are it used to be on the front of every printer. It would tell you that it was compatible with devices that could send pictures to the printer directly through the USB cable. So you would plug your camera via USB directly into your USB printer, and then it would be able to read the photos off of your camera and print them using this particular printer. It's a protocol of some kind, right? That prints from your camera. I forget the name of that protocol. They don't have it here in the menu though. But sorry. Oh, you mark which one you want to print, then put the SD card in the printer and the print. Yeah, so it's, I thought it was through the USB port, but it's through the SD card. Okay. Yeah, nobody does that though. I mean, I can't imagine anybody that would do that because the pictures are 4x3 and usually by cardstock that's 4x6, so it looks weird. I guess you could, then you trim it later. That's just a lot of work. And John Allen says the 14-150 is a good video lens. Yeah, it seemed like worked fine, autofocus and everything. And it was clear enough because everything's at 2 megapixels anyway. Or 8 megapixels if you're in 4K. It's not a big deal. And then Dion says, how do you do the thing about use micro SD and the adapter rather than SD card? I'm in my country, micro SD is cheaper. I guess you're asking me, what do I think about the mic? It's no problem. I use micro SD all the time. You just have to be careful you don't lose the micro SD. Sometimes it falls out of the adapter. So I lost a 256 gig. No, I lost, what? Hold on. Yeah, I lost a 128 gig SD, micro SD card because somehow it slipped out of the slot. So now I just have an empty adapter. Probably in the laundry or in the dryer, the lint basket. And then Nature says the road light states that the Rodex X1T should connect to the Neo 2. It will let you know what happened. Okay, cool. The direct cable connection uses JJC Hachu and 3.5mm cable does not work. It should. I mean, it should be just a simple TRS cable, right? You want to make sure you're not using a TRRS, you know, with the 3 bars on it. You want to get the one that's just a single bar or dual bar. But I assume you bought the right cable, the right 3.5mm cable, so I don't know why it wouldn't work. And then Walter says, let's plan a live edit with Capture One. We can use some of your past edit my photo example. Sure, anytime, Walter. Yeah, just call me up. I think you're off work tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Oh, I don't know what day it is sometimes. Just call me whenever. And Nature says, robtrek, many years ago I bought a Praktica camera and an Amazing Sun Company 100mm lens. Did nothing after that for some 30 years or more, but now back again after retirement. Wow. Is it still working? 30-year-old Praktica? My goodness. I haven't heard that name in a while. But they had some, I see those cameras like at the thrift store and stuff. I have it on some B-roll, some Praktica cameras, but I didn't use it in the video, I don't think. And DeMorgan says, I shoot 4x5 on a field camera, 90 bucks for 20 sheets. Holy crap, man. It better be a picture of a volcano or something erupting for me to spend $90 on 20 sheets. Wow. Yeah, Elaine's having nightmares about the 4x5s. And the Morgan says, I loved it. Yeah, I mean, shooting 4x5 film is not that far off from shooting everything else larger, 8x10s, for example. There's still a lot of setup involved, right? And Marsha's celebrating her first-year anniversary with the M1 Mark II. Congratulations. It's a great camera. I think I'm 3 years into mine, but yeah, it's been great. I use it for all my live streaming now. All these 35mm shooters would be watching, so I would play it up and tell stories while waiting for one shot. Picked Bridge. I think that's it. Picked Bridge sounds right, but I thought it was more cryptic than that. But that's pretty cryptic. That could be it. Thank you, music. That could be it. And Nature with Music. Oh, wait, that's for Elaine. And then Nature says, yes, the 2-pin 3.5mm cable. I also do not understand unless the problem is with light. Yeah, I don't know. Those kind of things, you know, unless I'm on site with you, it's very hard to diagnose in a chat message. Let's all go take volcano pictures with our large format setup. Large format can be so nice. Free tilt shift feature. Yep, that's right. That's where you learn really leading lines. And, you know, you have some sense of urgency when you're taking a volcano picture, right? Because you don't want to get caught in the caught in the ashes and lava rocks flying down on you. But if you guys are really into film, actually anybody that's really into photography, I found a lot of, I mean, inspiration is not really the right word, but I really enjoy Nick Carver's channel when he goes out in the field and he preps to take a picture using large format film, because it has nothing, I don't care about the film part, right? Because he does a lot of I don't care, let me rephrase, I don't care that he's shooting film. I just like the process and care that he takes when he takes every picture, right? Because you have to when you're shooting with large format film for many different reasons. Technically speaking, they're more difficult to deal with, and then financially because of cost, and then all the reasons you have to take a lot of time to take one picture. But he does a lot of prep that I think as a just a little digital shooter, DSLR, mirrorless, whatever, you take for granted, because you can take 1,000 pictures at once and you don't put as much thought into every picture, generally speaking. So to watch him put so much thought into every single picture gets me thinking about when I go out, I try to put those same thought processes in when I take a picture. Because he'll go out the day before or a week before and take pictures with his cell phone and frame it, and then try to pick the best time of light, then try, he does so many things to take one picture. And those kinds of things just, I find just amazing. There's somebody that's really into photography, has a passion for it. He just chooses to use film instead of digital. But if he shot, well, he does shoot digital, but if he made a channel about digital photography, it would be just as amazing to watch him prep for a picture. He did a video on Fujifilm. I think he bought the X Pro 2, I think, with some lens, and he had some amazing pictures from that camera. And he put a lot of the same thought, not as much as when he does film, but Ooh, oh my goodness, thank you so much, Roberto. I appreciate that. Let's see. DeMorgan says, I built my own 4x5. And picked bridge, yeah, so Music Sound Gear is confirming. He Googled it. That's what it's about. Yeah, I thought it was a USB thing. The picked bridge must be the USB thing. But you can stick a memory card in. And yeah, it's a process that I've never ever done once in my life. So when I saw it in the menu system, I said, who's gonna use that? I don't know. But it's a good question what those little check boxes are for, and you can pretty much just ignore them. Oh, John, 7. Oh, yeah, I need to get to my next stream. So, an old man taught me synergy, and I got a nice camera in the end. Wow, that's an interesting. I'll have to. We'll have to talk about that a little more sometime, DeMorgan. I have to go now. And Jeff Painter had a twin lens Rolly. Wow. Those are neat. Okay, I really have to run. I have a stream starting in about 3 minutes. At this rate, I'm going to be a few minutes late starting that one because I have to download everything. But I'm going to do a photo editing live stream next. So you guys are welcome to join me there. But otherwise, thanks so much for joining me today. As always, I really appreciate you spending this time with me because I really value everyone's time. I don't want to waste people's time. But it's just nice to just kind of hang out and chill and talk about photography and answer questions best I can. I failed miserably today with the Picta bridge, but either way, it was still a lot of fun to hang out. So thanks again. We'll see you guys again on Thursday.